Hello.
Hello, I have two things to tell you.
Ooh.
One of them you're not going to like.
Oh,
I killed your shoes.
how did you do that? I don't mind, but they were dead
I was
already.
I was cleaning the dirt off the sole that from when I walked outside with them,
Yeah.
and the sole cracked.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, they're very, very, very old. You know where I got them?
Yeah,
What's the
Sharper's
that?
Image.
Yeah, something, that place that sold all those strange
Yes,
electronic stuff.
I
And it
was
was,
impressed.
yeah, it
I,
was supposed to be good to walk in, but it never was.
ah,
So don't worry about it. All right, what was the other thing?
wait a minute, I forgot.
Uh, well,
Not Joel's picture. Oh, I might have to get lashes.
lashes or
Y-
glasses?
Lashes. Let
Oh,
me let me
what
tell
did
you what
you
happened.
do? What
I'm
did you?
drink I'm drinking my coffee. I take a sip. I put the cup down and I look down and there's something swimming in it.
Ooh, alive?
Exactly. A teeny little thing. I think it was probably a gnat.
Yeah, right.
So
Uh,
down the drain. But
yeah.
now I took a sip with him still swimming in there. So now do I have to get lashes?
You didn't know, first of
True.
all. Okay. Um, well, I think you should ask the expert who's coming on, hopefully in a couple of minutes. If it was up to me, you'd get no lashes. But
Oh, that's good. Glad to know. I'll check with the rabbi.
it's funny.
David, do you have an opinion?
He walked in the other room.
Ah,
I'll ask him later if yeah.
well, he'll
So
hear me.
so I wonder how
Hi,
Jackie's doing.
everybody.
Hi,
Hi,
Estelle.
hi Estelle. Good morning. It's a nice
Yeah,
day, isn't it?
it's a beautiful day. Right
A
now
beautiful day.
I
Yeah.
have my windows open,
Oh,
Wish
but
we
I
could
have the
have it that
shades
way
closed
all
so the
summer.
sun isn't coming in.
uh, they washed our windows in the building, so I had to take all the screens out, and
Ah,
now I can't put them back in. I'll fall out the window if I
no,
try.
Don't do it.
So I'll
Ask
get
the
the guy in to
maintenance
put them.
guy.
Right, right. He'll put them back in. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
can't open a window because I'm afraid something will
Oh,
fly.
yeah, no kidding. Something will fly in.
Oh, for sure around here. Yeah. So
And I'm constantly opening the door to let the cat in and out. So I can just imagine what's flying around in here.
right, right. Yeah. I found there was a little flying thing. I guess it was a gnat in the nuts I put out on the
Yes,
table.
yes.
Yeah, I found one in there, and I threw out the nuts. And now I'm going to make sure they're always covered. When I serve
Yeah,
them.
this time of year, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So anyway,
But I'll have to check if I need lashes.
yeah. I thought you meant
Just the
Hi.
person I need
eyelashes.
to ask.
Hi, guys.
This is
Hi,
Hi,
very
Reverend.
Reverend.
important.
Yes.
I was drinking my coffee. I took a sip. I put the coffee down and I noticed a little gnat swimming in my coffee. Do I have to get lashes?
Only if you drink it now. I warn you against doing it. If you should do it, you would be liable to lashes from the court. Now,
But
if you drink it, you'd get lashes.
but when I drank it before I knew he was in there, I was okay.
Yeah, if you do it by accident, you're never liable
Oh,
for
good.
those kind of punishments.
Good, because
But
he went down the drain real fast.
if you saw him floating in there and then chose to drink it anyways, and you had been warned beforehand, like I just did,
Yeah.
then but yeah, you would just need one witness for that, and I think so. Do you need two witnesses if there's lashes?
The
Eight
cats
echo
were not
nemon
in the room.
surim. One witness is believed when it comes to things that are prohibited, but I don't remember. I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember if you need to in order to get lashes. So somebody would have to be there. Somebody would have to see it. Somebody would have to warn you, including what the punishment would be. Then you'd have to do it, knowing that whole thing. And then the
Okay, I'm
question is,
good.
do you have to have two? Yes.
Wait. Do you have to be warned that there's a bug in the cup, or you just have to be warned, don't, in general, never drink if there's a bug in the cup?
No, I think you have to show them that they are about to transgress.
Oh,
They're about to transgress so that we know they knowingly transgressed. Even
Ah,
they knew it was
Ah.
forbidden and they
so it's not a general warning, it's a specific, I
yeah,
see.
it has to be specific. Very specific. Like it would have to include the right punishment even.
okay.
So if
Since
you
there was
warn
nobody
someone,
there.
if you warn someone, don't kill Joe, and then they killed, Pat.
Right. Right. So those kind of questions come up. Not only that, but you again, you'd have to warn them what the punishment would be. They have to be in order for this to be meaningful, they would have to be about to do it.
And if
So
there's no one there to witness it?
then they don't get the punishment. It doesn't mean that they haven't transgressed.
Oh,
They've
okay.
definitely done something wrong. It's just that a human court cannot convict them if there aren't witnesses, and also if they weren't properly warned. It's sort of like the Miranda. It's not exactly the same, but it's sort of the kind of role that Miranda plays, Mirandizing somebody. Where, in other words, it's a kind of technical requirement. It's very possible that everybody involved knows that the other person was guilty, but they don't have the technical requirements fulfilled. Something like that. All right, did we? I don't know if we did this. Did we do the for prohibition against drinking wine of an idolatrous libation? Yeah, we did. Because he said,
Yes.
even though this doesn't explicitly mentioned in scripture, it's still one of the numbered mitzvot, negative commandments, and you get malchus for it. That's right. We did have that. Okay. Next, 195. He prohibited us from being gluttonous and drunk with food and drink in the days of youth and under the conditions of the law of the stubborn and rebellious son. And that is his saying, you shall not eat with the blood. The explanation of this is that a stubborn and rebellious son is included in those things that are liable for death penalty of the court. And the language of the Torah about it is that it is punished with stoning. And it has already been explained at the introduction of this essay, Sefer Mitzvos Shorashim, Root 14, that anything for which one is liable for excision or the death penalty of the court is a negative commandment, except the Passover offering and circumcision, as we explained. If so, since the gluttonous and drunk son, under the specified conditions, is sentenced to stoning, we know that the act is perforce prohibited to him, since the punishment was explicit. Hence, we must search for the prohibition, since Scripture did not punish for something unless they prohibited it. The language of the Gemara in Sanhedrin is, from where do we know the prohibition of a stubborn and rebellious son? Hence, we learn to say, you shall not eat with the blood. Now, meaning to say, do not eat an eating that brings about the spilling of blood, and that is the eating of a stubborn and rebellious son, as he is liable for death because of it. So again, this is really not how you would read this verse in context if you hadn't been looking to read it this way. You would just read this, that it is forbidden to eat meat that still has its blood in it. That's how you'd read it. The thing here is that they know that this is that eating and drinking in that manner, gluttonous and drunk, are indications of a ben sorer umora. They are required indications of a ben sorer umora, the rebellious son. So they know that he is put to death. So they know somewhere there's a warning against him, but they're trying to find where the warning can be. And this is where they decided the warning is in this verse, which is admittedly not the way you would read it initially, but you're sort of being forced to read it this way because you know already that this prohibition exists. Now, the Rambam had said this in one of our introductions, that sometimes, a lot of the times, when you see the Gemara do something like this, they are making up for lost information. That over the time of the exile, there was a lot of lost information. And so a lot of times when you see the Gemara doing something like this, it is because they're making up for what otherwise is lost information. It's probable that there was some kind of better source for this, or a better way to know this, or some kind of direct oral transmission of this in some way. But that would help with this. This is how I typically understand when they're doing something like this, because this is far from how you would regularly read this verse. Again, there's a verse out there somewhere, and they're suggesting that this is that verse. And even though it's possible that at one point there was something more direct or more explicit, this is what we're left with because that more direct information was lost. And this is because he says, hence we must search for the prohibition, since scripture did not punish for something unless it prohibited it. So we know it's out there somewhere. And that's what the Gemara is doing. And the language of the Gemara Sanhedrin is, from where do we know the prohibition of a stubborn and rebellious son? Hence we learn to say, you shall not eat with the blood, meaning to say, do not eat an eating that brings about the spilling of blood. And that is the eating of a stubborn, rebellious son, as he is liable for death because of it. And when he eats this bad eating in those not good ways, he has already transgressed the negative commandment, even though this is a general negative commandment, as we explained in the 9th principle. For this is not difficult. Since the punishment is explicit, we do not concern ourselves with whether the prohibition is bona fide or whether it is from a general negative commandment. So I just think he's saying something like what I was saying over there. So the language, because the Hebrew is for bona fide is min hadin. In other words, it is like lawful, but it doesn't mean just lawful, because obviously everything here is lawful, but it means like logical. It's just like straightforward. Or are we get it from just some kind of general prohibition? So he's saying that regularly you would need something more specific, but since we already have the punishment and we know there's a warning out there somewhere, this is enough. The regulations of this commandment have already been explained in chapter 8 of Sanhedrin. If we were studying his methodology, instead of studying the information, if we were studying the methodology of how you arrive at a punishment for something, and how do you arrive at the classification of it and the numbering of it. So we would spend more time on one like this and the other ones that are in this ballpark where he's really making an effort to show to sort of fill in blanks that regularly you would expect to find. He's really making that effort, which shows that this one is a particularly thorny mitzvah. But we're not. We're mostly interested in the information, not the methodology. All right, next, he prohibited us. Oh, you know what? I just wanted to mention that I know we've talked about it before, but that the Talmud, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, says that there never was there's two opinions. One opinion is there never was a Ben Sora Umora, and there never will be a Ben Sora Umora. A Ben Sora Umora is a rebellious child who is taken by his parents to the court. He is under bar mitzvah. He's taken by his parents to the court. The court determines that he fulfills the criteria of a rebellious son. Then he is taken and stoned. Even though all he's shown are these indications, like he stole from his parents, he's a gluttonous eater, he's drinking, he's a drunkard. So these characteristics qualify him for this status, and if he has this status, he's put to death. This is extremely shocking mitzvah in the Torah. He's a minor. He's not being put to death for anything he's done, but rather it seems like he's being put to death to prevent him from doing something down the road. It's just a very shocking and surprising law. So then you have like this sort of comforting statement from the Gemara. It never was and it never will be. But there is a dissenting opinion. The other opinion is the person says, not only was there one, but I was at his grave. So the way many commentaries understand that is that this person is speaking metaphorically about the Jewish people. The Jewish people are the rebellious child, and what he means is he was there after the destruction of the temple. He's seen the ruins of what once was, and that's what he means. He agrees that specifically this is never applied, but in a kind of general poetic way, it has happened.
Rabbi, how do they know he's a minor? Is it the word yelad or ben? I mean, how do they know he's a minor?
All right, let's see.
And yeah, how can he be punished
If he, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
He
why it's
isn't
surprising.
responsible. All
But
right.
he is. That's why I agree. That's why I said it's shocking and surprising. Let's look at the Rambam inside, in the Mishnah Torah. It is explicitly stated that the wayward and rebellious son described in the Torah should be stoned to death. Now, the Torah does not administer a punishment unless a warning was first issued. Where was the warning issued? Do not eat upon the blood, which can be interpreted to mean do not partake of food that will lead to the shedding of blood. This refers to a meal eaten by the wayward and rebellious son who was executed only because of the hateful feast of which he partook. As it state, he is a gluttonous and a lush. According to the oral tradition, we learned that this was interpreted to mean that he ate meat and drank wine in a ravenous manner. There are many particulars involved in the meal for which he is liable for eating. All of these are conveyed by the oral tradition. He is not liable for stoning until he steals from his father and buys meat and wine at a cheap price. He must then eat it outside his father's domain together with a group that are all empty and base. He must eat the meat that is raw, but not entirely raw, cooked, but not entirely cooked, as is the practice of thieves. He must drink the wine as it is thinned as the alcoholics drink. He must eat a quantity of meat weighing 50 dinar in one sitting and drink half a log of his wine at one time. Half a log is 8 ounces. That is not, a massive amount. I don't know how much 50 dinarim weigh. If he stole from his father and partook of such a meal inside his father's domain, or stole from others and partook of this meal in his father's domain or in another's domain, he is not liable. This is part of there's all these stipulations that have been sort of added to this law that make it almost impossible for the law to ever be fulfilled, for the killing to be fulfilled. If the meal involves a mitzvah, even a mitzvah of rabbinic origin, or the meal involves a transgression, even a transgression of rabbinic origin, he's not liable. This may be inferred from the phrase, he does not heed our voice. Through eating this meal, he violates only his parents' command. This excludes one who through this meal violates the words of the Torah and partakes of it for the sake of a mitzvah. What is implied? If he partook of such a hateful meal together with wicked company for the sake of a mitzvah, or he partook of the second tithe in Jerusalem, even if they eat a meal comforting the bereaved, which is a mitzvah of rabbinic origin, he's not liable. Similarly, if he ate meat with animals that are not ritually slaughtered, which are treif, teeming animals, or crawling animals, and even if he ate on a communal fast day, a transgression of rabbinic origin, he is not liable for execution. If he partook of any type of food, but did not partake of meat, even if he partook of fowl, he is not liable. If he partook of this meal from meat, but reached the sum of 50 dinarim by including fowl, he is liable. If he drank other beverages but did not drink wine, he's not liable. When he ate raw meat and undiluted wine, he's not liable. The rationale is that in an occasional occurrence and not something that a person will be drawn after. Similarly, if he ate his meal of salted meat on the third day after it was salted, or drank fresh grape juice, he's not liable, for a person will not be drawn after such matters. For this transgression, the Torah does not punish a child who has not come of age where he is responsible for the observance of mitzvahs. Similarly, a man who has matured and is dependent is not stoned to death because he ate and drank. Hey, Esther. Hi.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I need to see if I can move those cars.
Oh, yeah. So the thing is that,
Akiva Bergman is the Tesla.
yeah, so he said you can call him and get his number because the keys are inside the car.
Okay,
So
so
you're going to have to get a code from him,
gotcha.
and then you
I
can.
like just move my car. I just want to
my car.
move
This
the
is my car.
No, that's your key.
This is your key.
Yeah, that's correct.
The car's out there.
Right, thank you. Yeah, so Akiva Bergman suspected this might happen, and he said that I wasn't here when he parked it. Or
That's fine. The keys are inside it, but it's locked.
Yeah, so it has some kind of access code or something to get it.
Okay, nice. Are you teaching now?
Yeah.
You're right in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get back to work.
Get that.
So I'll,
Good shit.
if you need anything, you call me or whatever, come in.
You want to open the
Okay.
shades or you like it? All right,
I'll understand. It's annoying.
you don't want too much stuff.
A lot of things in the morning.
Yeah, it has to do with Dracula. It's something to do with Dracula. Okay, sorry about that. So similarly, a man who's matured and is independent is not stoned to death because he ate and drank such a hateful meal. What is implied, according to the oral tradition, we learn that this law concerns a youth of 13 by the time he grew 2 pubic hairs and the time at which his entire male organ is surrounded by pubic hair. After the entire male organ is surrounded by pubic hair, he is considered an independent and is not executed by stoning. So he's a minor and he's not a minor. This is an in-between state. So for instance, to biblically be considered an adult, a male needs to not only have the required age, which is 13, but he also has to have at least 2 pubic hairs to demonstrate a degree of physical maturity. So, for instance, how do you know that a bar mitzvah should be is in fact an adult? So why does it matter? Because, for instance, we include a bar mitzvah in a minyan once he becomes bar mitzvah. How do we know for sure he's an adult if one of the requirements is 2 pubic hairs? So we do not require anybody to make sure that this child had pubic hairs. What we do is assume a chazaka. We make an assumption that if he got to the age of 13, he is also shown these pubic hairs. This assumption works for rabbinic issues. It does not work for biblical issues. So, for instance, there is a maftir, which is considered biblical, and that's the maftir for Parshas Zohar. So so the rule is that if a bar mitzvah we don't have a recent bar mitzvah boy do Parshas Zohar because we're not absolutely sure that he is biblically considered an adult. He has the age, but he doesn't necessarily have the pubic hairs. So if we knew for a fact that he doesn't have the pubic hairs, then of course he wouldn't be allowed to do it. He wouldn't even be allowed to be part of a minyan. We're just assuming he has that degree of maturity for the rabbinic things. We're not assuming it for the biblical things. So there was a Rabbi Rosner, who I often listen to when I'm preparing for my Daf Yomi. He mentioned that there's some rabbi who sends every bar mitzvah boy to a pediatrician for him to be determined if in fact he qualifies as an adult biblically. This is considered weird and is not regular practice. But anyway, so that's like a practical application of this state. So he's not a young child, but he is in a kind of in-between status. He has the years, but he doesn't necessarily have the physical maturity. That is what we're talking about. The entire period for which a wayward and rebellious son is liable is only 3 months from the time he manifests signs of physical maturity. For it is possible that his wife will conceive and her fetus will be recognizable within 3 months. Wait, what happened here? How is he a child? How does he have a wife? And her fetus will be recognizable within 3 months. This is derived from if a person will have a way. Oh, I see. If what do we mean by that? We mean that if he did have a wife and she became pregnant, that would be proof that he is an adult. Thus, one may conclude that if one's pubic hair surrounds the entire organ before the 3 months are completed, he is not liable. All right. Anyway, so he has to be in that in-between state. And you could see all the stuff that's added into this. If his father and mother forgave him before he was sentenced, he's not liable. If he fled before he was sentenced and the death afterward to death and sentenced to death afterwards, his pubic hair surrounded his organ, he is not liable. If he and just there's so many elements that make this such an unlikely result that this kid would be put to sleep, put to death. The explanation in the commentaries and in the rabbinic literature is that he is being killed for what he is going to become. He's being killed for Al Shem Sofo, for the fact that he eventually will cause harm, kill people, and do great damage. So before he ever gets to that point, he's being killed. There's no other precedent like this except for this scenario. And you even see in the Medrash about Yishmael, the question is why is Yishmael saved when Avram sends out Hagar and Yishmael? At some point they run out of water and he is thirsting to death, and so the question is, and then he's miraculously saved by angels. So why does he get saved if he's going to be a source of suffering for the Jewish people? And the answer is because we judge a person based on who he is at the moment. We don't judge him based on the future. So doesn't Ben Sora Umores seem to be a contradiction to that? That is one of the great questions about Ben Sora Umore, including all the others. This makes it one of the most surprising, shocking mitzvahs in all the Torah.
What's surprising also is the Rambam spends a lot of time discussing it. If it was merely, a moral, a parable of some sort, I don't think it would have devoted that much attention to it. But that's
unless you believe that
it actually
all
happened.
those details, that all those details
Oh,
are useful for the bigger lesson.
right.
That's possible. Yeah, all those are good questions. And this is not a mitzvah where you feel, even after you've looked at everything about it, where you feel that the questions have entirely been resolved. That's why it's this, often just thrown in right away that before we go much further, the Gemara says it never was and it never will be. That's like a kind of comfort, because otherwise it's such a shocking mitzvah. It's not the only shocking mitzvah, but it is, yeah.
And to get back, to our favorite subject, it has implications for free will. You're saying, no, this guy's going to. I mean, you have to be pretty certain about it.
Yeah.
And possibility tshuva is ruled out or whatever.
Yeah. Which in other contexts, we're told never to think that the possibility of tshuva is ruled out. Now, he could, even if somebody gets a death penalty for something that they did, tshuva is appropriate. And so it doesn't mean that he can never do tshuva. It just means that even if he does tshuva, it doesn't change the outcome. Because let's say right after he did everything that qualified him as a Ben Sora Mora and he's judged guilty, let's say he does tshuva at that point, you would think he would be in the same scenario as other people who are convicted of death penalties and do tshuva. There's a hope and expectation that they will do tshuva. Yeah. Okay. He prohibited us, this is 196. He prohibited us from eating on the fast of Yom Kippur. But the Torah is not explicit about the prohibition of this act. Rather, it mentions the punishment and makes one who eats liable for excision, which is, again, kores, such that we know he is prohibited from eating. So we know it has to be prohibited somewhere, but the question is where, like we had with the previous one. And that is his saying, for any person who will not be afflicted. And at the beginning of Croesus, when they listed those who are liable for excision, they listed among them one who eats on Yom Kippur. And they explained there that everything of which we are liable for excision is a negative commandment. Again, this is except for the Pesach offering and circumcision. Behold, it has been confirmed that eating on Yom Kippur is a negative commandment. And therefore, we are liable for excision for its volitional transgression and a fixed sin offering for its inadvertent transgression, as they explained at the beginning of Croesus, and as it is explained in the tractate Horios. That this law is only mandated for a negative commandment because of his saying about those that are liable for a fixed sin offering, one of the commandments of the Lord which should not be done. The language of the Sifra in Emor, the halachic midrash, is for any person who will not be afflicted, this is the punishment for the non-affliction. But we have not heard the prohibition about the non-affliction on the day of Yom Kippur itself. Again, I'm just coming right back. Yeah. Here, you got it all out?
Yes.
What's going on? You
Taking it to, no, taking it to Noah Factory Muffler to fix hopefully something that he already fixed that I paid for last time, that leak.
Yeah.
And then hopefully address something to sell it.
All right. I love you.
Thank you, love you.
I'm coming to see Ashi on Wednesday. We're taking him out to dinner. Mommy might
Oh,
go.
nice.
Yeah.
Hey, that
He
sounds
called last week, but it wasn't a good night, so I told him.
okay. Hey, that's all. You may want to try the sari if you have it.
I'm gonna ask him whatever he wants. I leave it up to him. Thank you for turning that around. That was fancy.
And after that, I moved his just to the side, so people
Okay.
can move it out.
All right.
Okay,
Bye. Yeah. So when it talk, this language is he's trying to stay in the English. He's trying to stay as close as possible to the Hebrew, which itself is a translation for the Arabic, and therefore it's not always easy to read. Eating and drinking on Yom Kippur, not eating and drinking on Yom Kippur are called afflictions. The Torah says it speaks about the character of the day that we should have inui, which is translated as affliction of the spirit. So what it's understood to mean is fasting specifically. There are a couple other things that we don't do on that day, but fasting in particular, fasting meaning from both food and drink. That's how they understand affliction. So so you are being punished for not afflicting yourself. You didn't afflict yourself because you ate and drank. Not eating and drinking would be actually afflicting yourself. So it's a weird kind of thing because it's talking, if you're passive, you've done something right. If you're active, you've done something wrong. That's how it works out with Yom Kippur. And again, we know that there's a kares level penalty for eating or drinking on Yom Kippur. And that means that there has to be a warning that this is wrong to do. And And so again, this is again that thing which is somewhere out there, there's a warning that you're not allowed to do this. The question is, where is the warning? Because again, we need both a warning and a statement of the punishment. We have the statement of the punishment. We're looking for the warning. So it's just funny language. For any person who will not be afflicted, this is the punishment for non-affliction. It's just such complex language. We have not heard the prohibition about this non-affliction on the day of Yom Kippur itself. It is when it states the punishment for work. So that's where we're getting the statement that it is prohibited. For let it not be stated, since it may be derived a fortiori, if not affliction, the ban against which does not obtain on holidays and Shabbos, and it's punishable on Yom Kippur, then a work ban against which it does also apply on holiday and Shabbos, how much more should it be punishable? So we're taking a verse that's a warning about work, creative work. We're applying a Kal Vachomer, a fortiori argument, and that is going to provide us with our necessary warning against eating or drinking on Yom Kippur. Why then is the punishment for work stated? If I already know that since it's a holiday, it's going to be forbidden to do creative work, why do I need to know that specifically for Yom Kippur? So the answer is to derive from it the prohibition against non-affliction, which is the prohibition against eating and drinking. Just as the punishment for labor follows a prohibition, so too does punishment for non-affliction follow a prohibition. Behold, what we have said is explained. The regulation of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Yoma. So this is similar to the previous one, and we've had several of these where most of his time is explaining how we know it's forbidden and how we know it's a negative commandment. Yeah, this one involves quite a few steps in order to get there, which again would be an indication of the sad state of affairs that we have lost so much information that we're left to, fixing it with these methodologies.
I just confused. Is the affliction considered to be a positive or negative mitzvah?
So he said because there's chores, it's considered a negative commandment.
Negative mitzvah.
Right.
Okay,
It's
that's the reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're right. It says you shall afflict yourself. It sounds like it's a positive commandment. But he had said previously that because it's a chores penalty, and we have a tradition, there's only 2 chores penalties that are positive commandments. And this isn't one of them, so it must be, therefore, a negative commandment. But if it's a negative commandment, there has to be a warning to it. And it's not obvious where the warning is to it. So the Gemara says this is the warning. Even though it's not explicit, we can use a Kal Vachomer to get to the warning. If we were doing this for the punishment, you could not use Kal Vachomer because you can't use Kal Vachomer a fortiori arguments to get to a punishment, but we already know the punishment. We're just looking for the warning so that you can get from that kind of thing. So this really does involve a lot of thinking to get to this one. But again, it starts with, we know the end. And the question is, how do you get to the end from what we can see? All right. I know that was a little bit detailed and complex. I look forward to learning tomorrow with you, hopefully not as dense and complex as these were. All right. Be well.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
You're welcome. See you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.